The first poem I'm going to go through is When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. And throughout all of these poems, the main thing we're going to focus on is the use of sound devices. Okay, so that's the main thing I'll talk about as I analyze the poems. When you are old and gray and full of sleep and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read, and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love false or true, but one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled, and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. Okay, so in here the first one that we're going to look for is alliteration. So remember that alliteration is the repeated use of of the beginning sound of a word. So we have one really strong example in here, which is right here. How many loved your moments of glad grace? Glad grace is really clear alliteration. The G sound is repeated from glad to grace. So that's the main one. We have little ones like hid, his right here, and even though these are a little separated, little, and then love right here. But the best example is definitely glad grace. Okay. The next one that we're going to look for is consonants. Okay, so consonants, remember, is the repetition of a consonant sound in the middle or end of words. Okay, and remember it can also kind of mix, but let's look at one example where we have a sound repeated. Take down this book. Okay, that K sound is repeated in both of these words, which are near each other. You can also have ones where you have the sound at the beginning of a word and then the sound in the middle of another one. So we have their shadows deep. Okay, that D sound is in shadows, and that D sound is in deep. So that would also count as consonants. But a better one, a more typical one, is probably take and then book here. The last sound device that we're going to look for is assonance. So we can see a really clear example here at the end. It says, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. We have the I sound in hid, the I sound in his, and the I sound in amid. Notice it makes the same sound, which is different from like the I sound in fire. Okay, so they make the exact same sound, and they're fairly close to each other, so we would call that assonance. Okay. Let's go on to our next one. This one is called Stop All the Clocks by W.H. Auden. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone. Silence the pianos, and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. Let aeroplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message he is dead. Put crepe bows round the white necks of the public doves, let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out every one. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood, for nothing now can ever come to any good. Okay. So we have this poem that's going through kind of the process of mourning, of losing somebody that's very close to you. But in it, once again, we're going to see a lot of different sound devices being used. So again, we'll start with alliteration. So you can see at the end here, for nothing now can ever come to any good. We have nothing now, the N sound in both of them, that starts both words, is repeated. Okay. So that's one very good example of alliteration in here. You can see other examples like working week, my midnight. You also see ones that are a little more spread out, like scribbling on the sky. The S sound is repeated even though they're not right next to each other. All of those would be examples of alliteration as well. Okay. So now let's look through 4 examples of consonants. For this one, let's just focus on the last stanza. So we have the T sound being repeated quite a bit here. The stars are not wanted, put out. Okay, that T sound is repeated many times in that line. If we go down further, we can see examples where the sound is sometimes in the middle and sometimes at the beginning. So away, sweep, and then would, all of them have that W sound. And since there is at least one, in this case two, where the W sound is in the middle, not at the beginning, it would be considered consonants. So away, sweep, would be a good example. Also stars, not, wanted would be a good example of consonants. Last thing we're going to look for is assonants. So remember, again, this is the repetition of vowel sounds. So if we look through here, we'll see let airplanes circle moaning overhead. We have the O sound in moaning created by that OA, and then the O sound at the beginning of overhead. So that's one example. Sometimes it might even be over a couple lines. So he was my north, my south, my east, and west. So the E sound in east, my working week, and my Sunday rest. Okay, so that E sound is being repeated from up here down to here. Notice that it's a different sound from something like the E in rest, though. So this does not go along with east and week, because the E is making a different sound. The east and week is an example of assonants. Okay. The next poem we're going to look at is I Carry Your Heart With Me, I Carry It In by E. E. Cummings. You'll notice that his poems are generally just the very first line. They're titled the very first line of his poem. So that's why it has kind of that strange name. Okay. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I am never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear, and whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful you are my world, my true. And it's you are, whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here is the deepest secret nobody knows. Here is the root of the root and the bud of the bud and the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart. Okay. You'll notice that this is written in kind of a strange way. E. Cummings is the same person that wrote that poem, Buffalo Bill, which had kind of a strange structure as well. So that's kind of what he does. He doesn't capitalize the letter I because he doesn't find himself to be important enough to deserve being capitalized. That's why you'll notice over here that his name is written in all lowercase letters. Okay, but back to looking for sound devices. He uses these quite a bit as well in his poetry. Okay. For alliteration, let's look at one where the words are a little more spread out, because we haven't seen a lot of those yet. Okay. Let's look at this line. We have higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. Okay, that H sound in higher, the H sound in hope, and the H sound in hide are all repeated fairly close to each other. So we would consider this alliteration. Okay. Let's also look for some examples of consonants. In this one, we can see a repetition of an R sound throughout much of the poem. So we can see I carry your heart. Me. Again, it says I carry it in my heart. I am never without it, anywhere, that R sound. I go, you go, my dear. Whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. Okay, so that R sound is repeated a lot throughout here. So that's a strong example of consonants. You can just put carry your heart. Okay, there's also an R in the word your. Okay, so this is a very good example of consonants. Let's also look for a couple examples of assonants. So if you look further along in the poem, it says, here's the deepest secret nobody knows. So this has a couple good examples. We have deepest secret, that E sound is repeated. Then we have nobody, so we have the O and nobody, and then knows is the same sound. So we have two examples right next to each other. Deepest secret or nobody knows are both good examples of assonants. The last poem that we're going to look at is Hist Whist, which is also by E. Cummings, but it's definitely kind of goofy and ridiculous. Okay, so as you listen to this one, you'll notice that it is showing one of our sound devices quite clearly, and that's going to be onomatopoeia, okay? Because it is going to have a lot of sounds in there, like hist, whist represent sounds. We have we at the end. We have ouch here, ooch. So there are going to be a lot of these things that are just representing sounds throughout the entire poem. Okay, I'll read through it. It'll sound kind of ridiculous as I do it, but I'll read through it and then we'll talk about kind of what it might mean. Okay. Hist whist, little ghost things, tiptoe, twinkle toe, little twitchy witches and tingling goblins, hobanob, hobanob, little happy toad in tweeds, little itchy mousies with scuttling eyes, rustle and run, and hide, whisk. Whisk, look out for the old woman with the wart on her nose. What she'll do to your nobody knows. For she knows the devil, ouch, the devil, ouch, the devil, ach, the great, green, dancing devil, we. Okay, so we have a lot of examples of onomatopoeia. So you would see hist whist, you would see ouch, ouch, you'd see ach, you'd see we at the end. That's probably about it. Those are the main ones. But anyway, this seems like a really goofy poem. However, it may still have some meaning. So if you think about what it's covering, there are all these images that surround Halloween, and this image of a woman with a wart on her nose being a witch. And it seems very playful. It seems like you're joking around. It ends with just we. It might be kind of poking fun at how lighthearted we make some things that are absolutely evil. Okay? So it ends with she knows the devil, green dancing devil. This doesn't seem like it should be something that children are joking about. And he's making it very clear that people just joke about this type of concept, okay, by how lighthearted this entire poem is and by this ending to the poem. So if you look a little bit deeper, you can see that it might have the meaning that we often don't take evil things very seriously or seriously enough, or we don't take life in general seriously enough even. Or that might not be what he's trying to bring across, but that's just one possibility for what it might mean. Most poems are kind of up to the reader for what they truly mean, at least to some degree. So this would be one of those as well. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if not, please move on to working on your sound devices worksheet. Thank you.